Hello, I'm Marty Machashik of the National Sporting Goods Association, and thank you for joining us for another installment of our video series for our COVID-19 Reopening Resources Library. Because social media use by businesses is such a hot topic, we're excited to have Eve Mayer and Levi Sauerbrei back again with us to share their expertise. Eve and Levi, welcome back again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marty.
To start this session, first question I'm going to ask you is, what do consumers expect from small businesses when it comes to social media?
Honestly, not much, Marty. I'm going to be honest with you. From small businesses, they don't expect a lot, but they sometimes forget that they're not supposed to expect a lot. So I think a lot of small businesses do a great job building this really big image, right? Like, we're not as small as we seem. Our team is not as small as you might think. We were this huge company. But then when you do that, you kind of need to follow up on your social media quickly. So what consumers wish they had from a small company is that the small company would focus on one or two social media platforms and do them well, not 5 or 6 and do them all very, very poorly. That's what they would like to see. So think about where your customers are. Are they young? Are they older? Are they in between? Are they male? Are they female? Like, what do they have in common? Where can you best reach them? And then pick 1 or 2 channels and be there. Just like you answer the phone, answer people rapidly when they ask a question, when they compliment you, when they complain. And stop just answering people when they complain. Do not answer one complaint and have that filter into Google and answer no compliments and repost no compliments and have that go into Google and then just look like a really negative company where everyone is complaining. Stop doing that. What do you want to add?
I would say the biggest thing, I agree, pick the spot. You know who your customers are. You know if it's soccer moms or if it's 20 somethings that are mountain climbers, like, generally where they're at. But be consistent. Pick the spots you're going to be. Don't branch out too far. But once you do find that spot, one of the ways that you create that presence there is to be consistent. And that can mean posting once a day. It can mean posting once a week. It could even mean posting once a month, but responding to all of the comments. Whatever your cadence is going to be, whatever your frequency is going to be, make sure you maintain that. You might even put a notice up that says, we answer all comments on Friday. Now, that's not often enough. Answer your comments every day. But we post on Wednesdays. Great. Make sure you don't miss a Wednesday.
Well, and you mentioned, kind of narrowing it down to a couple of platforms. What platforms do you think small businesses should be focused on, and why? And how does the messaging differ between those platforms?
Yeah, you can't answer that question, Marty.
It's not the size of the business as much as it is the clientele. So if you're a small company that makes climbing gloves, your audience is going to be, I'm making all of this up, but I'm guessing the primary audience for really high-end climbing gloves is 25 to 32-year-olds, right? That's Instagram for the most part. If you make soccer cleats for kids, who's actually making the purchase? It's probably their mom. So that's probably Facebook or Pinterest if you're looking at, females between the ages of
and Instagram
30 and 40. Instagram more so.
Right. Like if you're selling clothes for men who golf, don't be on TikTok. That's what we're saying, right? Like, don't do silly things and waste your time and money. You do not need to be everywhere. And just because you're a small business, it doesn't mean you're going to pick the right social media. Understand who the people you sell to are. Understand who your loyal clients are. And don't look for somebody or a company to handle your social media that is just a social media expert. I would be more apt to look for a person who represents your customers that have the knowledge, and then teach them social media. Everybody can learn social media. It is not that difficult. It's built for everybody to be able to use. And so a small company would really want somebody who has the voice of the brand out.
I would say, as much as we just said, well, it really depends. If you're a small business, don't be on Twitter. Like, that's the one place that I would say it's too much work for too little reward for almost any small business.
Yeah, that was the one I was going to.
I would say in technology.
Possibly.
Well, we would argue about
But
that.
in sporting goods,
Yeah,
it's a little rough.
And I was going to ask about that because I know we do have some of our members who are on Twitter, and I think they, but I was just curious what your, where Twitter fell into that realm.
Back in the day, some of your clients who actually had over 1,000, there was one of them, I think, because I was like in the room and I was like, how many of you have over 1,000 followers on Twitter? And it was like one. I was like, okay, you can stay. The rest of you maybe. Right. And they were doing a really great job. They did some customer service on Twitter. They retweeted a lot of sporting events and a lot of teams on Twitter. They did a great job. It takes a lot of time and effort and money, quite frankly, to actually see a business result on Twitter. So I think Levi's right. For the most small companies in that industry, I don't think it makes sense.
The one thing that happens on Twitter more than any other from a business standpoint is customer service. So if you're going to be there, again, you have to be super involved. You have to respond to everything. If someone mentions your brand, you cannot let that sit there because the conversation will be taken over by people that aren't you, and it can be taken in a direction that you're not excited about. So if you're going to be there, you absolutely every day have to be in there making sure that you're responding to anybody who's talked about you.
Got it. So, and what kind of experimenting should small businesses be doing, with social media in terms of, videos, user-generated content, product use and exposure, even you get down to like memes and brand ambassadors?
Sure. I think one of the things that particularly small businesses that maybe it's the owner and some store employees and, oh, well, that person has an Instagram account, so we're going to let them work with it, right? They imagine that it takes this enormous amount of creative energy to do it. It doesn't. It's tedious and it takes a lot of energy, but you don't have to be creative. Your customers can be creative. So you can put up we're reopening the stores now. You can put up a sign that says, we would love it if you would follow us and mention us on Facebook, take a picture of yourself using the product. And if we see that you shared it, you'll get 5% off on your next visit or something similar to that. Request that your customers be your biggest advocates, which they already are, but let them do it with their audience. Make sure they know what your Instagram account is or what your Facebook page is so that when they do take a picture of themselves using your product, they know who to tag. And if the people listening don't know what tagging means, that's okay. Your customer does. They just need to know who to tag or what hashtag to use.
And right now, people really want to share stories of how they're supporting local businesses and how they're supporting small businesses. But I don't see a lot of small businesses providing the tools to do that effectively, because it has to be very simple, right? It has to be a sign that is very simple. It has to be a post that is very simple. Usually they'll make it too difficult. Follow us here, tag us here, repost it here, share it with 7 friends, join our, no. You cannot do all that, right? I give them one thing to do. And if 5 people do it, you're going to be super lucky, and make it really easy.
And you mentioned, things like memes. A meme is an image that has a funny saying on it, and some of them catch on a little bit and become cultural phenomenons. You're not in that business. Don't try to be in that business. They can also be repurposed to ends that you did not intend. And it's I think it's much easier with trying to be clever with a meme to misstep and find yourself having to issue a PR statement about how you didn't really mean it that way, right? Stay in your lane, ask your customers to be your biggest advocates, and the content that you're actually creating, like I said, personal stories of your employees, stories about why the product matters, stories about how people have used that new pair of running shoes to lose 10 pounds while they've been self-isolating. These are the types of things you can think through, but you don't have to do a big creative, we got to leave that to Budweiser and their Super Bowl commercials, right?
I don't completely agree with this. I'm a creative, and some of you might be blessed with a brilliant creative person on your team who is really funny and knows the brand. And if you have that, I think you should do it. I think you should take some risks. Otherwise, life is kind of boring. And social media is this great equalizer that, yes, Budweiser has access to it, but so do you. And I've seen some great small brands do some really funny, really heartwarming things. And as Levi says, I've seen some small brands and large brands do really offensive things that they didn't realize and really screw up. So I think I'm a risk taker. Take some risks.
I will say, you mentioned video, and you don't have to be super creative to have video. again, take your smartphone, have somebody hold it and point it at you. Somebody in your office who's funny or well-spoken or really good looking, and just have them talk about what the business is going through and all the efforts you're making for your customer. Video is super important, and it can be used in so many different ways that you need to get comfortable being in front of that camera.
Great. Well, Eve and Levi, great stuff again. Really like the back and forth a little bit. That's fun too. So, appreciate you joining us again to share some great information.
Thank you, Marty.
You.